Hi, I'm Marie Story, Corporate Wellbeing Consultant and Certified Health Education Specialist at Walsh Duffield. Today I'm here to talk to you about improving emotional intelligence. In this session, you'll learn about the foundations of emotional intelligence, such as managing emotions, positive ways to relieve stress, and communications tips. What is emotional intelligence? Why is it important? And strategies to boost your own emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, otherwise known as emotional quotient or EQ or sometimes EI, is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. Emotional intelligence helps you build stronger relationships, succeed at work, and achieve your career and personal goals. It can also help you connect with your feelings, turn intention into action, and make informed decisions about what matters most to you. Emotional intelligence is commonly defined by 4 attributes. Self-management is the first, and this means you're able to control impulsive feelings and behaviors. You can manage your emotions in healthy ways, take initiative, follow through on commitments, and adapt to changing circumstances. Self-awareness is the second, and it's when you're able to recognize your own emotions and how they affect your thoughts and your behavior. You know your strengths and weaknesses, and you have self-confidence. Social awareness is meaning you have empathy. You can understand the emotions, needs, and concerns of other people. You can pick up on emotional cues of others, feel comfortable socially, and recognize the power dynamics in a group or an organization. Relationship management means you know how to develop and maintain good relationships. You can communicate clearly, you can inspire and influence others, you work well in a team, and you're able to manage conflict. Let's break down these 4 components of EI down further. Nested within each domain are 12 EI competencies. These are learned and learnable capabilities that allow outstanding performance at work or as a leader. Let's talk about an example here. If Jane had strength in conflict management, she would be skilled in giving people unpleasant feedback. And if she were more inclined to influence, she would want to provide that difficult feedback as a way to lead her direct reports and to help them grow. Say, for example, that Jane has a peer who's overbearing and abrasive. We've all probably been there. Rather than smoothing over every interaction with a broader balance of EI skills, she could bring up the issue to her colleague directly, drawing on emotional self-control to keep her own reactivity at bay while telling him what specifically does not work in his style. Bringing simmering issues to the surface goes to the core of conflict management. Jane could also draw on influence strategy to explain to her colleague that she wants to see him succeed, and that if he monitored how his style impacted those around him, he would understand how a change would help everyone. Similarly, if Jane had developed her inspirational leadership competence, she would be more successful at driving change. A leader with this strength can articulate a vision or a mission that resonates emotionally with both themselves and those they lead, which is a key ingredient in marshaling the motivation and essential for going in a new direction. Indeed, several studies have found a strong association between EI, driving change, and visionary leadership. In order to excel, leaders need to develop a balance of strengths across the suite of EI competencies you see here. When they do that, excellent business results will follow. Looking at this slide here on the left, we see that personal competence is comprised of self-awareness on the left and self-management on the right. Self-awareness, as we talked about, has to do with self-confidence, awareness of your own emotional state, recognizing how your behavior impacts others, and paying attention to how others influence your emotional state. Self-management on the right is about keeping disruptive emotions and impulses in check, acting in congruence with your values, handling change flexibly, and pursuing goals and opportunities despite obstacles and setbacks. Social competence on the bottom row is comprised of social awareness and relationship management. Social awareness on the left competencies include things like picking up on the moods of others, caring about what others are going through, and really hearing what someone else is saying. And again, relationship management competencies involve getting along well with others, handling conflict, clearly expressing ideas, and using sensitivity to manage others' feelings. This is just another great way to look at how emotional intelligence competencies come into play. I wanted to show here knowing the difference, and don't feel guilty if you do any of these things on the left. Usually people don't do them all, but it's important to, again, with emotional intelligence, be able to recognize any of these characteristics you might be portraying and how they can come across to others. So someone with low emotional intelligence might be aggressive or demanding. They could be selfish or a poor listener. They're resistant to change. They're passive. Maybe they're very picky and fussy about others' work. And then someone with high emotional intelligence is almost the opposite. They're assertive, they're driving, they're warm and enthusiastic, they're patient and stable, they're meticulous and systematic. You can see that the great thing about emotional intelligence is you can always work on areas of weakness and improve them to improve your emotional intelligence. So why is EQ so important? Your performance at school or work is affected by EQ. So high emotional intelligence can help you navigate the social complexities of the workplace, lead and motivate others, and actually excel in your career. In fact, when it comes to gauging important job candidates, many companies now rate emotional intelligence as important as technical ability and employ EQ testing before hiring. EQ also affects your physical health. If you're unable to manage your emotions, you are probably not managing your stress either. This can lead to serious health problems. We know uncontrolled stress raises blood pressure, suppresses your immune system, and increases the risk of heart attack and stroke, contributes to infertility, and actually speeds up the aging process. The first step to improving emotional intelligence is to learn how to manage your own stress. Your mental health is also affected. Uncontrolled emotions and stress can also impact your mental health, making you vulnerable to anxiety and depression. If you're unable to understand, get comfortable with, or manage your emotions, you'll also struggle to form strong relationships. This in turn can leave you feeling lonely and isolated and further exacerbate any mental health problems. It also affects, in turn, our relationships. By understanding your emotions and how to control them, you're better able to express how you feel and understand how others are feeling. This allows you to communicate more effectively and forge stronger relationships, both at work and in your personal life. It also impacts social intelligence. Being in tune with your emotions serves as a social purpose, connecting you to other people and the world around you. Social intelligence enables you to recognize friend from foe, measure another person's interest in you, reduce stress, balance your nervous system through social communication, and feel loved and happy. By nature, humans are very social creatures, so this is a very important way that EQ can affect you. There are great studies now about EQ success by the numbers. It seems intuitive that individuals with high EQ, they're gregarious, they're motivated, they're engaging, are among the most successful in life. A study by EI leader TalentSmart backs this up. Below is a snapshot of the most notable findings. 90% of top performers have high EQ. People with high EQ make nearly $30,000 more than low EQ individuals. And 58% of leaders' job performance is explained by EQ, meaning it's more significant to job growth or promotions and performance than traditional intelligence. Insurance salespeople, too, with low EQ in areas like self-confidence and empathy sold nearly 50% less in premiums than their high EQ counterparts. Even a study of salespeople at L'Oreal hired for their EQ outsold their peers by over $90,000 at the end of the year. This just shows us how important EQ can be when it comes to success in our careers. The great thing about EQ is that we can always develop it. To develop emotional awareness, it's important that you learn how to manage your stress first, so you'll feel more comfortable reconnecting to strong or unpleasant emotions and changing how you experience and respond to your feelings. This is really step one. Mindfulness to boost EQ. Mindfulness is the practice of purposely focusing your attention on the present moment and without judgment. The Cultivation of mindfulness has roots in Buddhism, but most religions include some type of similar prayer or meditation technique, which is really fascinating. Mindfulness helps shift your preoccupation with thought toward an appreciation of the moment, your physical and emotional sensations, and brings a larger perspective on life. Mindfulness calms and focuses you, making you more self-aware in the process. Some steps you can take here are: number 1, name your feelings. Labeling your emotions may seem like a simple thing, but it can help boost your EQ. When you're able to distinguish between your emotions, like frustration versus anger or disappointment, you can more effectively control them. More importantly, this exercise can also help you communicate and empathize with other people because you understand your emotions and may understand better why someone else is lashing out or reacting the way that they are. The next, we need to consider our feelings. It's also important to understand why you feel the way you do. Emotions aren't inherently good or bad, but they can be problematic when they turn into outbursts or negative behaviors. Very similar to food. There aren't foods that are good or bad. It's just when that food becomes problematic or takes control of our behavior that it becomes a problem. So it's important to understand the root of an emotion. Now you can attempt to address the emotion head on. Next, think of others. Another way to boost your EQ is to observe and become more aware of others' emotions. Pay careful attention to how others react in situations. Focusing on how and why someone is feeling a certain way is better than arguing with them. Understand where they are coming from. This will also help with future interactions. And then 4, understand cause and effect. Your emotions do influence your judgment, for better or worse. Even the person with the best poker face can be influenced by their emotions. Consider how yours affect your decision making and be sure to temper them if you find your judgment impaired. For example, getting overexcited about a potential promotion might cause you to neglect your other work. And then 5, be responsible. Know that you understand, and now that you understand your emotions better, it's time to take responsibility for them. Blaming others for your own emotions is a sign of low EQ, as we talked about on the previous slide. For example, on a bad day, you might think, my coworker is putting me in a bad mood. Consider, my coworker's actions are irritating and I'm getting upset. While other people's actions can influence us, it's not their fault you feel a certain way. I want to stop here and pause for a brief self-reflection exercise. Think here about these questions and mentally give yourself a check for any of these things that you might do. Do you frequently argue and shift blame to others? Do you have trouble working with other team members? Do you ignore other people's viewpoints? Are you prone to emotional outbursts? Are you constantly upset or seemingly irritated? Are you straightforward when asked about how you're feeling? Do you respond well to constructive feedback, even if it's critical? Would you describe yourself as having a lack of self-awareness? Would you describe yourself as having a lack of empathy? Does your behavior make it difficult for you to be around? Now, I wouldn't expect that you'd answer yes to all of these, but if you do find that you answer yes to 1 or 2, that might be the area to really focus on and think about how you can use EQ to improve and address that concern. I want to finish here with a few great resources. Helpguide.org is a fantastic website that provides resources around mental health and well-being, and they have a specific section on emotional intelligence. There are great meditation apps if you're trying to learn more about mindfulness and getting in touch with the present moment and the emotions you're experiencing. These include Headspace, Insight Timer, and Simple Habit, just to name a few. And then TED.com/speakers and Daniel Goleman is a great resource as well. It takes you to Daniel Goleman's page, and he is noted as one of the founders of emotional intelligence. And you can read much more and hear presentations by him on this important topic. I hope you found this improving emotional intelligence topic useful. The great thing is we can always work to improve our emotional intelligence, and the benefits of doing so are clearly there. If you need to find more information, please visit walshduffield.com for more. Thanks.